Good afternoon, everyone. Calling to order the August 2nd, 2021 Mendocino Historical Review Board. We are teleconference meeting. And Planner Cherry, can you read the participation information for this virtual meeting?
Sure, happy to. The Mendocino Historical Review Board meetings are teleconferenced and not available for in-person public participation pursuant to State Executive Order N2900. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing in Mendocino County YouTube webpage at www.youtube.com/Mendocino County Video. In order to minimize the risk of exposure during the public health order, members of the public may participate in meetings by emailing comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. That's PBS, like Planning Building Services, commissions@mendocinocounty.org. Or they can participate orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comments will be made immediately available to the board, staff, and the general public as they are received and processed by staff. When written comments can be viewed on Mendocino Historical Review Board meeting webpage. Requests to participate orally via telecomment must have been received by 10 a.m. this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please conduct roll call?
I'd like to note that Vice Chair Holm-Kapler is absent with notice. Chair Roth.
Present.
Review Board Member Alan Saunders.
Present.
And Review Board Member Holly Madrigal.
Present.
Okay, so 3 members are present with Kapler having a note and given absence. Also, I'd like to note that myself, Planner Cherry is present. Planner Mark Kleiser is present. We have some administrative staff helping us with producing the meeting on YouTube today, including Jim Feenan. And then also later in the meeting, we have Planner Jesse Waldman will be presenting under matters from staff.
Thank you. Has proper notice been established for the meeting?
Yes, proper notice has been established, and we did renotice for one project that is on the agenda because the address was incorrect on the original notice, and that is the project on Evergreen.
Thank you. Takes us to agenda item number 4, approval of minutes. And I think Planner Cherry wants a request on this item.
At the last meeting, we talked about the May minutes that had inadvertently been distributed before they were ready. And there's we're still working on finishing them. So at the last meeting, we continued the May meeting minutes to this meeting, and staff would like to ask for a second continuance to the September meeting, please.
Granted.
Okay, thank you. And then the July meeting minutes will be presented at the September meeting as well. So we'll have the May, July, and this August meeting minutes, hopefully, at the September meeting.
And the September meeting will be conducted on September the 6th.
Actually, the 6th is a holiday.
Oh, that's right.
So it'll be a week later on September 13.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, we don't want to get into that holiday schedule. Do we have, item number 5 is correspondence. Do we have any correspondence that's been received for items not on the posted agenda?
I don't believe we have. Jim, are you aware of any non-agenda
anything? No, I have not received anything.
Okay. Which brings us to item number 6, report from the chair. Nothing to report except that we're still looking for our 5th member. And if you're tuned in, he's been reappointed. The notice has been reappointed, so he is doing another term, but he has to have that notarized and also has to be granted the oath. So this is just an administrative issue, but that brought us down to 3. So if I'm implore to the public, anyone out there who lives within the jurisdictional boundaries of MHRB, please get hold of Supervisor Ted Williams and express your interest. That's all I have for reporting from the chair. Expression. The review board welcomes participation. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes for subsequent agenda items so that everyone may be heard. Public expression items are limited matters under the jurisdiction of the review board that are not on today's agenda by the review. If you requested to speak under public expression, please call in now. Thank you for your understanding during the public health order, and thank you for your continued interest. To encourage public participation, review board is setting aside 3 minutes to receive public expression comments via email. Please send your comments to same email address, pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. Planner Chair, do you have your stopwatch, trustee stopwatch for the 3 minute? There we go. Thank you.
So there's 1 minute remaining. James, I just want to check with you to see whether we've received any requests for public expression.
I don't have anything.
Thank you. Okay, 10 seconds remaining.
Okay. So as I understand, we have not had any requests for telecomment and public expression.
So we waited the 3 minutes for public expression, and I don't believe we received any requests.
Okay, thank you. Which brings us to our consent calendar, of which we have no items under the consent calendar. Zipping through our agenda today. Item 9A, our regular calendar, case MHRB 2021-0009 Wickersham. This is something that is a continuation from July 12th, 2021. A request to remove the carriage house and studio with new standing seam roofing material. extend the picket fence and repair portions of the fence, replace gutters with aluminum gutters and replace windows with dual pane white aluminum clad wood window frames, extend the walkway and cover existing pathways with stone and brick. This is what we affectionately call the Blair House, located at 45110 Little Lake Street, and it's Category 1 historic resource. And I know that we were planning on having a site visit, but there's a lack of ability to get the windows. Is Planner Kleiser with us?
Yes, right here.
Thank you.
Mark
Go
Kleiser,
ahead.
Planner 2, and presenting on behalf of Planner TSR. The applicant has requested a continuance of MHRB 2021-0009 to an unspecified date, and staff recommends continuing the matter to the December 6, 2021 meeting.
Thank you. That being said, is there any one of the board members who wishes to not continue this? And if that is not the case, then I would entertain a motion to continue to the December meeting.
I guess my question is, why December? Why not October or November? Is there some idea that this will take a long time?
We are waiting. The arrival of the samples is going to take some weeks, and we don't have a set date yet. So to be safe, we thought we would move it to December.
So, question about protocols. We could continue it to December. If the applicant gets materials in prior to that, can they request that it be moved up to a sooner meeting?
I believe so. Juliana, could you?
If I may, through the chair, the
Yes.
applicant has said that it'll take 3 months for the samples to arrive.
Okay.
And that's why we chose the December date.
Okay, that was
That is the minimum amount of time the applicant needs to, they're actually ordering a window.
So again, with regard to protocol, should it come by carrier pigeon in a month instead of 3? Could we advance this item up to a earlier date?
We could potentially, we would need to renotice for that earlier meeting date, where choosing a specific date allows us to not renotice, although perhaps we would, since it would be December.
Okay.
Okay, that was the piece I didn't understand. So that's good.
Yes, Commissioner Medical.
So Commissioner Saunders, you made a motion, right, to continue?
I didn't make a motion, but I certainly will. Yes, I mean, that was my only question. Why so long? And Juliana answered that. So I would make a motion to continue MHRB 2021-0009 until December.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'd be happy to second that. I had a similar question and want to let it be known that if they do come in before December, I'm still more than happy to do a site visit, schedule that, hopefully before the December meeting. I'd be more than happy to continue that process as well.
Great, thank you. Can we have a roll call vote? Or actually, let's make it easy. All those in favor of continuation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There we go. Thank you.
So the continuance is passed by unanimous voice vote. Thank you.
One of those.
Thank you. Which takes us to our next item. Case number 2021-0005 Cole, a Mendocino Historical Review Board permit request to construct a 608 square foot garage and a 320 square foot greenhouse and paint the residence. Applicant requests a concurrent variance for a setback reduction to reduce front and rear yard requirements. And the property is located at 10501 Evergreen Street. Is there anyone on the board who has a conflict or wants to recuse themselves from this? Okay. Planner Kleiser, take it away.
Thank you. Mark Kleiser, Planner 2. I'm planner for MHRB 2021-0005. Before I begin my presentation, I'd like to point out an error in the hearing packet. The incorrect record, aka the spherical file, was attached. Planning and Building does not have a historic record for APN 119-15042. So with that said, the project is located within the Mendocino multifamily residential district and is located on Evergreen Street at its intersection with Ukiah Street. The house on site is not on the inventory of historic buildings. The applicant is proposing construction of a 608 square foot garage, a 320 square foot 4-bay greenhouse, demolition of an existing shed, and after the fact permitting of a new 83 square foot shed, installation of 2 additional water tanks, and moving the existing 5,000 gallon water tank east from its current location. The existing deck will be repaired using wood and material. And if I may, I've got some photos I'd like to share with the board members.
Please.
Okay. Oh,
You have to share screen.
first. Okay. This is a site plan. Can you see that? Is that big enough?
You just have your Explorer. You don't have the site plan.
Oh, Jim, how am I?
It should be
You have to
sharing.
click on it, unshare, and then share again. Sometimes that works. Or you have to select the screen that we're seeing.
Okay, let's try this again. Screen share, selecting this screen, share. How about now?
There we go.
Okay.
Looks good.
Okay, great. So here we have, this is Evergreen going north and south. Ukiah Street will end right here. This is the garage, so the driveway will just extend right into Ukiah Street. And this right here is the greenhouse that is being proposed. This cottage will remain, this shed will remain. This is the existing house. The shed that's being demolished is approximately here, and this is the new shed. And this is the site as it is now. This is where right here is where Ukiah Street is. The garage will be here.
We're not following your mouse.
You have to scroll down a bit.
You have to
Where do I have to go, Jim?
go back to share screen.
Oh my goodness.
Or you could pull the scroll bar on the right down, couldn't you?
I'm not able to scroll. Jim, do you have a clue?
Go to stop sharing. And go back to share screen. No, okay.
How about now?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, so here's the property. This is Ukiah Street over here. Evergreen is running this way. This is the existing water tank. The garage will go here, and the greenhouse will come out to about here. And do I just have to stop again
Yeah,
and do the whole
yeah.
thing?
I think so.
Okay, sorry about this.
I think the one-
Okay.
Elevation in front of us.
Yes, great. So this is looking from the south towards the north. This is what you will see driving down Ukiah Street towards Evergreen, looking east. This is looking south from the adjacent parcel. And this is looking west. And this would be the cemetery here. And I have a picture of the greenhouse, potentially what it will look like, although it does have extra bays. Oh.
Close that one. There you go.
Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Yep.
This is the greenhouse. There will only be 4 bays in the one that is proposed for this project. And with that, I will stop sharing. The applicant is also proposing exterior painting of the window frames of the house and cottage. The colors proposed are either Kendall charcoal or Amherst gray. The facades of both will remain white. The doors of the residence and the cottage will be painted Stuart gold, and the shed will be painted either Kendall charcoal or Amherst gray, and staff is asking that the review board's actions specify which color for the trim and the shed. The shed and the water tanks are exempt from chapter 20.760. Total lot coverage will increase from 10% to 17.17%, and the max lot coverage for this lot is 25%. And staff recommends approval of the project with conditions. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you so much. Do we have the applicant owner, Mr. Cole, present for adding anything?
I don't believe he's present. Jim, is he?
He's telling me to add him in, but I need his email to do it.
Oh, he is asking to be added in.
Is this going to take a couple minutes to do, or is this
It's because he's gonna have to email me and let me know his email.
He
So-
says he's already logged into the Zoom meeting. You just need to bring him in.
I don't see him over here.
Let me see.
So
Unless he's in with
His
Paul.
email address is tcole.
Let me get, wait a minute. Let me get the.
He also has a phone number that starts with 415.
So I have an idea while we're working through the technical pieces of this. The next part would be the public hearing declared open, which I don't want to do right now, but we were going to pause the meeting for 3 minutes and invite public participation via email. You want to run that first while we're trying to get Mr. Cole on the line?
Sure.
Can you give me that email again, please?
It starts with tcole, like first initial, last name. And I'll start the timer for 3 minutes of public participation.
Before you do that, this is where we bring the public in for participation. So we're willing to take emails if you have comments. And if you want to send that, you have the next 3 minutes to do so. And that would be send your comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. And we'll be back in 3. Thank you.
Juliana, can you IM me his email address?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Huh?
So there's 1 minute remaining in our pause to allow for public participation on this matter, MHRB 2021-0005. Staff would like to note that before the meeting began, we received public comment. 2 emails were received and that they are posted on the meeting webpage for the Mendocino Historical Review Board. And they have been distributed to the review board meeting members before the meeting began.
I actually don't remember seeing those, by the way.
If you go to the MHRB meeting webpage, you'll
Okay.
see them under the matter on the agenda.
And you said you distributed them separately to the review board, though?
We sent the review board an email saying that they had been.
I'll go back and look. I
Okay.
recall that.
And if you'd like, you could certainly ask staff to summarize them.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I might
Okay,
want
well,
to summarize.
yeah, and I'll be requesting staff to summarize them. But have we, so we're gonna backpedal a little bit.
Mr. Cole is available if you want.
Yeah, so,
the meeting.
yeah, so what I want to do is I want to go back. We gave our 3 minutes for people to send in any additional comments they wanted for public hearing, but since we have Mr. Cole, who's the applicant owner, online, please, Mr. Cole, give us any additional information you like about your project.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Good. Oh, thank you. Okay. As you all may know, I'm a new owner of a property in Mendocino, and I intend to gradually be there full time. And as a part of that, I would like to have a place to park an electric car, charge it, a garage, a place to tinker. You know, the end of the garage would be a place for a shop facing the graveyard. And I am a landscape architect, and I'm a collector of flowering cactus. And my greenhouse is for a collection of flowering cactus, which I have at my home in Cloverdale right now. But honestly, it's too hot in Cloverdale for most of them. So the greenhouse is for a collection. When it's 60 degrees in Mendocino, it's usually 110 in Cloverdale. My thought and the design of the building, I chose the same roof pitch of the house, whereas the house is maybe 24 feet. The proposed garage has a low side beam of about 9 feet, and the extent of the roof is about 16 feet. And in order to confirm the property to the site, which slopes gently down to the house, there's a 2-foot grade change to keep the greenhouse lower in the landscape, and the top of the greenhouse is at 13 feet. So the greenhouse, I should say, and I think I noted in my application, is a historic greenhouse, as you saw the photo. It was given to me by a client, and the pieces of it are on my property waiting for reassembly. They were building an addition on the house and bought a new house that had this greenhouse, and they wanted to find a new home for it. So that's how this greenhouse project evolved for me. I think that's about it. The water tanks, I'm about to install a second water tank for water delivery. I don't anticipate the greenhouse is going to be taking much water because of what it's used for. And eventually I might apply to do some water catchment on my property because I am a gardener and I'm designing a garden for South African, Australian, and plants that will normally grow in very dry Mediterranean coastal environment. So I think that's all I should say. The window color is just to get rid of a green that was painted when I purchased the house. And the front door color, I used leftover paint, which I realized was not on your list. So we're repainting it another yellow. Please, questions?
I have a question about that, Chair Roth, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
So we have the color samples for us, and it was suggested that we weigh in on that.
Okay.
Just looking at these, I don't specifically have a preference. Do you have a preference as far as like
The 2 grays?
Yeah.
So, I would probably go with the darker one because I want the window frames to go away from the outside.
Okay. And then what about the golds?
Gold, I think I only chose one, right?
Correct.
Oh, Stuart?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think it looks quite excellent. I think it's going to be a great addition to the neighborhood.
Thank you. And I did submit to Mark a couple of photographs of within the block. As far as the glazing on the greenhouse, I know it's the intent to have small windows when you're doing a residential structure because it's a Victorian town. But there is the community center, which has virtually the same glazing on the walls as the greenhouse does, with a solid pane below with a transom above, and then it's got a solid roof, of course. And there's a tiny greenhouse on an adjacent property, and there, of course, there's the nursery, which is on the other side of the graveyard, which has very high clear-story windows. And then I also submitted a photograph of a garage, which is right behind Mendoza's hardware store, which is right on the street, similar at Pine and whatever that street is. There's a little garage that's right at the end of a dead end street. So
That would be Howard.
Pine and Howard, maybe, yeah.
Parallel to Lansing, just went over by the hardware store.
Yeah, there's just a little, about the same size as the facade of my garage. It's, I think, even closer to the street, might be 4 feet.
Got it.
And I didn't say anything about the wall. I'm thinking the wall that I show there, the rock wall, will just be basically a dry laid looking rubble wall that will divide the gravel terraces on either side of the greenhouse from the garden.
Gotcha. Is that all?
That's it. My end.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing me. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can stay on the line, Mr. Cole,
I will.
we may have additional questions later on. So
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so that brings us back to our public hearing, and planner Cherry mentioned, and I went onto the website in the interim, and I see there are 2 emails. Was there any additional information that was garnered for the 3 minutes we were holding on there?
Jim?
I didn't get anything.
No, nothing.
Okay. So planner Cherry, would you do us all a favor and do a summary of the 2 emails sent under public comment, please?
If I may defer to the planner making the presentation, Mark Kleiser.
Sure.
Yes. Mark Kleiser, we have 2 comments. The first one is in support of the project. They are excited to see the attached greenhouse in the garage, and they hope the review board would allow the straight-on driveway access at the dead end of Ukiah Street, as this allows for a, quote, safe entrance in a congested street condition. And if
that was Mr. John Connell, is that right?
That's right. And
Go ahead.
the second one, would you like me to read this or just briefly summarize it?
If you can summarize it, I think the essence is towards the bottom. It's the
Yes.
last word.
This is from Robert Brokel and Alfred Crofts. Let me read here.
If you want to do the to gussy up.
Yeah, to gussy up the town's residences and businesses with infill such as fussy additions and appurtenances like cabanas seems a bad precedent, the proverbial slippery slope. To lose the striking look of plain white picket fences and houses frankly facing the street, oblivious to visitors and sightseers, would be a step along the way to walled compounds and the urban look of heightened security. Mendocino is a wonder that deserves the utmost protection.
So I guess we got 1 for and 1 against. So
Against was
Ask
just
for
the fencing.
clarification. Are both of those letters from residents of Mendocino?
The first one for, yes, is they live on Ukiah Street, and the second are residents not of Mendocino. No.
Okay, thank you.
that's impressive. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So we're going to close the public hearing. So at this point, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Either the two commissioners, do you have any questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, I wasn't clear on the last summary. Is the main objection to the wall versus the fence? Is that the substance of it?
They talk about infill such as fussy additions and appurtenances. Like Cabañas seems to be a bad precedent. They complaining about the lack of the picketed fence, and they didn't seem like they were in support of the project.
Okay, but the main thing was the fence. It sounds like the fill-in. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a piece of empty land.
Can I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, please.
When I bought the property, there was approximately 4 feet of picket fence, 40 feet of picket fence missing in front of where the cottage is, which as of last week, I closed down 25 feet of that by adding new picket fence, which was not there when I bought the property. And I should say the precedence for the accessory building would have been the old Preston Manor House, which had a glass conservatory attached to it before it burned down. From a Victorian standpoint. Yeah,
Great.
so I've done a little homework.
Thank you for doing your due diligence.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Alan or Holly, any comments, thoughts?
That was really my only question. To me, it seems like a good fill-in for that space, looking at where it is and looking at the planning.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, please.
The buildings themselves will hide 100% the water tanks, which are now behind a very janky lattice falling down fence. The buildings will obscure them totally.
Commissioner Madrigal?
I think it looks like a good design, and I think it fits the neighborhood. It was mentioned by one of the commenters that is a congested area, which I agree with. You know, at the corner of Cafe Beaujolais right there, if people don't realize this is right across from Cafe Beaujolais, that is a challenging area for parking and things like that. But I think all of these additions enhance the area and don't, you know, detract from that. And having a garage, will be able to, you know, get one more, you know, personal vehicle off of the street, which I think is a improvement. As I mentioned, I didn't specifically have a preference on the color, but if there's a request that we designate, the darker one is the Kendall charcoal, I think was.
Yes, yeah, I think so. The other one's Ashford gray. Yeah.
I would be fine. I would be fine with both of those colors. And I am just looking for, it was noted that on one of our things in the packet that it was listed as Kelly Street with the correct number, but Kelly Street, and that is, so I'll just preface I'd be happy to make a motion, but
Actually,
specify that it's on Evergreen.
Evergreen.
It was an incorrect. Oh yeah, it was the right number, but the wrong street. Yeah.
Correct.
So I'd like to actually weigh in a little bit if you are. I don't want to cut you off, but I'll throw in a little bit. Okay. I want to thank Mr. Cole for coming in and doing his due diligence and using his skill set to understand the vernacular of where he lives or where he wants to live full time. I would implore him to put an application in once he's become a full-time resident to the Historic Design Review Board.
Oh, I've heard that one before.
I'm not conditioning it on that. I'm just
good.
making
Thank you.
No quid pro quo. No quid pro quo.
No quid pro quo. And the whole thing with the accessory structures, I think, what I like is that Cafe Beaujolais has done a lot to improve the gardens there, and I think that Mr. Cole has picked up on that whole look and has extended the Sunset Magazine garden of Cafe Beaujolais into his front yard. So I think it's going to be a pleasant improvement that's within the vernacular of the design of the village. And I think it fits within all of the requirements. And So I want to get the conditions, and I think we can make the findings. So with that, yes, I will entertain. Oh, I actually, quick question for staff. MRM district. What is MRM?
Mendocino residential. One second.
Which finding
I
is
felt the
that
same
on?
way.
What finding is that?
So it's on the staff notes. The project site is located within the MRM district. And
There is
hadn't
one
heard
of
that
the zoning
terminology before.
districts in Mendocino. It is residential, and I apologize, I don't know what the initials are for.
If I may, MRM is Mendocino Rural Residential. The
Okay.
M, the first M standing for Mendocino.
Okay. And just request.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. MRM is Mendocino Multiple Family Residential.
Okay.
Multiple family residential.
Okay. In the future, the alphabet language, the ABCs, all these acronyms, if there's something that is there, just spell it out once and let us look through the report to see what it is next time.
Very good.
But otherwise, with that, I'm entertaining a motion on MHRB application 2021-005.
So moved. I move approval with the designation of the Kendall charcoal and the gold that was
Stuart Gold.
Stuart Gold. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Yep, I'll second that.
Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
If I may take a roll vote.
Yes, you may. Absolutely.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you.
so
Thank you all. That's it for me, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Unless you want to stick around for the roll, you can stick around for the roll call vote if you want.
Yeah.
all right, so board member Roth, what
Not
is
quite.
your vote?
Aye.
And board member Saunders?
I do appreciate the desert planting, by the way. I think that's really a good idea.
And board member Madrigal, what is your vote?
Aye.
So that is a unanimous vote, 3-0, approving the project with two colors, Stuart Gold and charcoal, Kendall charcoal.
That's it. Yep. Okay. Well, thank you again. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Mr. Cole. We look forward to watching the development of this project of yours.
Off to the engineer at this point. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, which brings us to agenda item number 9C on a regular calendar, which is MHRB case 2021-0011, Clark. A Mendocino Historical Review Board permit requesting to construct 4 square concrete bases to secure sculptures on display in the garden at the Century 21 office located at 45050 Little Lake Street. And Leonard Kleiser, please present it to us.
Hey, Mark Kleiser, planner for MHRB 2021-0011. The project is located within the Mendocino Commercial Zoning District and is located at the corner of Little Lake and Lansing. The on-site business, as stated earlier, is for the offices of Century 21, and the structure on site is not on the inventory of historic buildings. As stated in the staff report, the applicant would like to display up to 4 sculptures on pedestals in the existing gardens that surround the building on the east side and the south side. And I could pull up a map if you like, if you're patient enough for me to pull up another. I can show you where these will be.
That would be great, please.
Okay.
And as that's being brought up, I just want the public to know that we do have all of the materials in our packet. It's just nice to see for the public.
Thank you. This is true. Plus, it goes into the record, so if anyone wants to go back who missed it, they can actually watch the YouTube video.
Okay, can you see?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
So this is the parcel here, and the sculptures will be located approximately here, here, and over here. The sculptures themselves will change, but the applicant will install the concrete display stands, which we are permitting today. These stands will be tinted to match the ground and will be designed to complement the garden. The stands will be constructed so that they are nearly flush with the ground. If any part of the stand is visible above ground, it will be covered in mulch, and this is covered in condition number 8 in the staff report. The sculptures themselves will be limited in size to 4 feet by 4 feet and 8 feet in height, and materials used shall be appropriate for outdoor display in any season. I've got a couple more examples that are not in your staff report. If I can pull those up.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay.
You're getting to be a pro at this. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Jim, can I get your keyboard for a second so I can reduce the size of these? Okay. So this is example 1. These stands are not what is going to be installed. Here's another example, and I think this one probably demonstrates the type of display stand that will be used on site. If you notice, it is covered here with pebbles. In the case of this project, it will be covered with mulch. Here is another example. And this is the last example.
Thank you.
Okay. The recommended findings for this project can be made as there is no alteration or demolition of existing structures. As a display stands will not be visible, staff feels that they will be in harmony with the exterior appearance and design of existing structures and will not detract from the appearance of other properties in the district. As such, staff recommends approval of the project with conditions. And if I may, I'd like to point out there was an error in the staff report. Condition number 10 appears to have been cut off. The condition should read, materials used shall be appropriate for outdoor display in any season.
Thank you for that. Can I ask you to, are you finished or do you have more?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Could I ask you for the benefit of the public and the record? Attachment A, which looks like a hand-drawn site plan with Little Lake Street and Lansing Street, is page 8 for the packet. Can you bring that up?
Yes. Are you keyboard?
You guys need more keyboards than that.
Okay, and what page? I'm sorry.
A4, which is attachment A, hand-drawn site plan, Little Lake Street and Lansing Street are on it.
Okay.
It's a little rough, but it's, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
And share screen.
All right, Planner Kleiser, you're up for promotion.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So what I want to point out, if you can push the image up a little bit. There we go. So just for public certification, in the upper right-hand corner, there's an A with a circle on it. And then down below that, there's a B, and then there's a C to the left and a D up above that. And can you please verify that those are the 4 locations for the 4 concrete pad or block supports that they want?
That is correct, yes.
just gives a good visual as to where they want to place those. I was looking through my packet and I went, okay, I think I got it. Great, thank you. All right, so you want to return back to our regular visual? Thank you. Holly, you had a question?
Not a question, just let me know when you're ready for. Actually, it is sort of a question.
Go for it.
Which is, I'm new to this body, and I'm in support of this, the sculpture stands. What this brought up for me as a question, and as far as the historical review board role is, what is our role in public artwork, in a public artwork display? Like we're just being asked to approve these stands, which I think they're going to be almost invisible. So I think I'm happy to approve those. There was examples of beautiful works of art. I just wonder, does the historical review board have a role if it was going to be like a neon installation, or what, from the planning department's point of view, what would be our input into something that's artistic and temporary?
If I could, I'd like to defer to Planner Cherry on this one.
That'd be great.
Hello, Planner Cherry with Mendocino County. So we have a question about the role of art within the historic district. The review board has purview over exterior appearances and whether they harmonize within the district. And we have been contacted by multiple property owners. This property owner has applied to do art within the landscaped area of the property. We've also been in touch with the Mendocino Art Center, who would also in the future like to apply to have sculptures on display on their property. So we really looked at the fact that the art may change over time, and we wanted to help the review board approve locations for art within the property where the art may change. Board member Madrigal raises a really good question. What if the art, say, is illuminated? Would that still harmonize within the district? And so the review board could, with conditions on this application, restrict things that they feel might not harmonize, like internal illumination. I hadn't really thought of that at the time that Mark and I were discussing this application and working with the artists, because their work is solid. It's solid wood or solid stone, but it may change, and another artist may want to do some internal illumination. I think we did look at a condition regarding lighting.
Condition number 7.
Yeah, condition number 7, which is a standard condition that we use throughout the district. So you do have purview over the exterior appearance of things like art pieces in the district. We wanted, though, to create an opportunity for property owners over time to swap out an art piece and put another art piece in its place. So if you wanted to approve these specific art pieces and require the property owner to come back at a later date if they wanted to change them, that's one option. Or you could provide some guidelines and parameters for future art pieces that are under display. It's really up to you to communicate, and you have some good points there about how things would harmonize within the district. And if you'd like, we could also take a 15-minute break and craft some additional conditions based on input from the review board and come back to you with some clarification.
So just for clarification, it's, in this case, it's the property owner that chooses, is that correct?
The property owner has been working very closely with 2 or 4 artists who want to display their work on his property. We're told the art will not be for sale. that it's going to be there for some time. But we do want to recognize that the wood art in particular may change over time and may be replaced in the future.
So the question was, the property owner at this point has the say yes or no, I am going to put this on my property. Is that correct?
Yes, but I would add that that's no different than any other property owner who wants to make changes to their home. If they want to put new windows in or a different front door, it starts with their decision and request to the review board to make those changes.
Yeah, but my point is, in this case, once we've approved the stands, we're not going to get another permit request. We want this sculpture or that sculpture. It's the homeowner is going to put what they want on those stands without coming back to the review board.
Right.
Unless we make it, unless we make a condition otherwise.
No,
Right.
that's where I'm heading in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for clarification, it's really staff's recommendation to proceed this way. We didn't want to burden the review board with having to look at every sculpture that's proposed in town.
I agree. I was just asking really for clarification as to what the existing situation was.
Okay.
I don't want to critic.
So within that, I want to look at 7, 8, 9, and 10 for the conditions. 7 is outdoor lighting shall be shielded. I'm wondering if there's any precedent. I got a number of questions. If there's any precedent to allow for unshielded outdoor lighting that would be of a certain number of watts illumination or less, because that actually might be attractive without the whole concept about the outdoor lighting is to minimize the, what do you call it, the nighttime lighting so you can't see the sky. So if there's some way in the past that if there's any precedent for some sort of wattage or illumination level no greater than. And then the other thought was, so the 8 is this location, obviously. Actually it's the footings, the concrete blocks that are going to be invisible, hopefully. 9 is the bases shall be located on the site plan. And then there's a little bit of a conflict I want to bring up on number 10. Art pieces may change but are limited to 4 by 4 feet wide and 8 feet tall. In the application, it says establish 4 locations for yard art sculptures up to 9 feet tall and sitting on 3-foot square concrete pads. So I think we need to get some clarification from the applicant whether it's going to be 8 or 9 foot. And like I said, I'd like to sort of talk about what the whole illumination issue is. And Commissioner Madrigal, you had a comment or two.
I'm fine with, do you want to get answers to those questions before my comments?
Sure, if that works, please. Planner Cherry? You're muted. There we go.
So on condition 7, I noticed that there's a typo. Condition 7 reads outdoor lighting shall be shielded, illuminated shall be reflected downward and positioned in a manner that does not allow light glare to extend beyond the boundaries. And then it's added that lighting shall be off between dusk
Well, it says
and dawn during the non-business hours, DUSK, dusk. So at night, there should not be illumination at night. The lamp should be off once the sun sets and be off until the sun rises. So it would only be daytime illumination.
And that would be a condition that we would be able to discuss and come to an agreement on. But yeah, it says duck, which I like, instead of dusk.
And then, so then number 10, if the board so chose, we could certainly change the height. Art pieces may change, but are limited to 4 feet by 4 feet wide. And we can say 9 or 10 feet tall, whatever height you would like. And then also materials used shall be appropriate for display in any season. Staff was concerned that if the art piece was made of material that could not withstand outside weather, it may not appear in its best form during our winter season. So that was the reason for condition 10 to have that sentence, materials used shall be appropriate for display in any season.
Okay. Commissioner Magical, do you have a couple questions? And at some point, we're going to want to hear from, if we have the applicants here, hear what they say, but go ahead, please.
So I was just going to add that I hesitate to get into a discussion of what art we would approve, to set art requirements, in a short time. For like, that is a conversation we could have, but trust me, that's a sticky wicket to get into. I think I would err more on the side of, the property owner's discretion, given our parameters that are put forth in the conditions. And then if the property owner chose a sculpture that was entirely of plastic and neon illuminated, that we would potentially have some sort of recourse. In this instance, we're actually approving the bases and the height of this, the height and illumination of the sculpture. But yeah, I'm just thinking that we might want to not get into putting too many parameters, because I'm not gonna be able to think of everything that potentially would need to be included. So I would hope if there was something that was really not in harmony that was put in, that there would be some recourse at the Historical Review Board to say, kind of like, that one doesn't work for us. But as far as this permit, I would defer to the property owner as far as the sculptures, certainly the examples that we were shown.
And I don't think we want to get into the First Amendment. That seems like a sticky wicket to me.
That's a very British statement, by the way.
So I'm going to bring it back. We have applicant presentation, Cherie Christensen and Frank, the artists. Are they on the line with us or not?
Can you hear us? We're here.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm Cherie Christensen.
And Franz Arner.
We're at Paul Clark's office. He had to go to a doctor's appointment, but he asked us to speak for him.
So we're the artists, along with Paul Reiber, who does the wood sculpture, and we do the stone pieces that you saw. Stone sculpture, yeah. Okay.
Nice work, by the way.
Thank you.
So is there anything you want to add to what's been stated thus far?
No, we're flexible. We're somewhat flexible around the height, if that's a concern. We could limit it to
9 feet.
9 feet, 8 feet. We're fairly flexible around that, and we're also very sensitive to blending in with Mendocino. We've been here a long time, and we've done a lot of things around, but we would want it to be in harmony with the town, and so that would be our intent. And we're trying to exhibit our work in sort of a garden setting. So that's the goal there.
Sounds nice. So if we were to, I think that the impetus to put in a height limit is to make sure there's nothing like 25 foot that goes in there. So 8 or 9 or 10, I don't think is an issue with us. Is there? We don't want to put a limitation on your artistic license, but is there something that typically works for you or doesn't work for you?
Is there something?
I think in keeping their 9 feet is good. I think something like 15 feet would be a little bit more than we would want to do. Something that would start to go above the building, the structures that are there, the sign, it's more low key than that. So.
Okay, so a 9 foot limitation wouldn't give you heartburn?
No, not
That's
at all.
fine.
No.
Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Not really.
No,
Okay.
we want it to be in keeping also with the building and the garden, the whole thing. We wouldn't want to have it stand out so that it didn't harmonize with the garden and the building, so.
Okay, sounds good. If I could ask you to stay on the line, because what we're gonna do, the next step is gonna be a public hearing. We're gonna open that up, and once we close that, then we'll bring it back to the board, and they'll have a chance to pepper you with questions and staff and everything else. So hang on tight.
Okay,
And Planner Cherry, if you want to start the timer, review board welcomes participation in the meetings. If you request to speak on this matter, please call in now or email in now. We're setting aside 3 minutes to receive comments via email, and send your comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. And with that, you got 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
I like the nice work. That was nice that he said.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, our work looks like it's just,
Belongs.
And just to the artist, I just want to let you know that we are live and you are not muted. So you may want to mute yourselves until you come back on.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay. Back to game time. So do we get any anyone wanting to put in for public hearing? Jim?
Yeah, we have no comments that we received.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
So let's come back to our board members, Madrigal and Saunders. Do you have questions of the applicants, of staff, thoughts? I know we have a couple of loose ends. So have at it. I'll let you guys hammer it first.
So I'm looking at condition 10, and obviously we have to say 8 feet or 9 feet, and that's just have to make sure it's consistent. And I think the rest of it, which isn't printed here, basically refers to it being all season, something that isn't going to melt in the winter or something. I guess to Holly's point, and I was thinking along the same sorts of lines, we've talked a lot about the sculpture blending in with the ambience of the town, and maybe that's all we need to add there. I mean, just add something to condition 10 that covers a sculpture and its look, and it couldn't be. I don't want to be an art critic either, and I don't want to limit anything, but it seems to me, I agree with Holly, there has to be some sort of recourse if somebody, and it may not be these artists, it may be somebody else, of course, eventually, put something there that is, I hate to use the word offensive, but doesn't fit with the town. Let's put it that way. So I would like to see something added to condition 10 that covers the fact that the pieces should reflect the ambience of the town or something like that. That would be my request. Other than that, I think it's a great idea, by the way, and I like the pieces that we were shown.
Go
I don't
ahead,
have
Holly.
I don't have anything to add if Alan would want to make that a motion.
Oh, wait. Chair wants to put in a comment or two. You're
Well,
trying to be the chair, huh?
No, you don't
Just
get to do that.
No, I was just gonna say that making a motion does not stop conversation at all. I was just saying that
Got
I
it.
would support those additions.
And I appreciate that clarification. You having been on the council for Willits has given you a lot of recent experience, so I defer to that as well. On number 7, I don't know that I need to have that lighting shall be off between not dusk and dawn and non-business hours. I think that illuminate, and like I said, this is where I want to ask staff, Planner Cherry, if there's precedent, if there's some way to limit illumination. I can see where you can have light on art that does not degrade our night sky. I definitely don't want anything internally illuminated or neon, but I'm thinking that it's on an evening stroll, it might be nice to walk by some art that's tasteful, that has a little bit of illumination so you can actually see what it looks like. So I'm not quite sure if we have the right words for that or how we can craft them, or if my other board members are in favor or not. I'll take comments on that one piece before I go further. Go ahead, Holly.
It's almost like garden lighting, or muted
Exactly.
illumination in after sunset.
And it
Yeah, because
says,
that's when you would want illumination is at
yeah,
night.
and it says it during non-business hours, and I know that gets lifted from businesses like to bring attention to their wares, like in a case similar to one that's like used to be Barge North or Baby Le Pen, and they want the internal illumination. And I know that's why we have the during non-business hours to be shut down, but I think it's a slightly different issue. And I know Planner Cherry just came on board. So do you have any information on this? Enlightenment?
During non-business hours, I really drew that from our code regarding signs. Our code says that commercial businesses shall not use illumination during non-business hours. So this is signs and like their window displays. The idea really is, if the business is not open, that they not use illumination. And that is how Mark and I work together on condition 7. I have been listening to the review board, and if you'd like, I could certainly share a screen, and Mark and I could try out some revisions to the language, and you could discuss that to see if you could find some consensus between the 3 of you. Or we could take a break and come up with a recommendation that the review board might consider.
Let's put that in the parking lot and let's go to the other pieces of this. The 9-foot provision, I don't have a problem with at all. I can go 9 foot and even maybe 10 foot. But with regard to art being in harmony with the rest of the art, that that gives me the heebie-jeebies, and it starts talking county council and all kinds of lawyers. I understand the thought, but we're not a free speech board, and I have no idea how you could objectively say that this art is within the harmony of the village or not. I mean, that just sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen. And I think personally, art speaks for itself. Everyone has their own sort of limitations, thoughts about it. There's the whole obscenity thing, which I don't think we even need to go towards, but I don't support the limitation on what the art is. It's too fraught with so many issues. That's my thought. And I know Holly's raised her hand, so go ahead.
On condition 7, I was going to say we could just strike that last sentence. So that, you know, it says that the light can't go beyond the boundaries. In regards to, you know,
Let's hold back on 7 since you're there. I don't want to. I totally like that, except that if for nighttime light, I want to be able to have some clause that's in there that says that maybe whatever illumination is during or past business hours do not contaminate the night sky or something silly like that. And I just don't, we don't want neon, and we don't want, 200-watt bulbs shining up and reflecting and killing the stars. But I think we need to have something in there.
well, so it does include the language about light not, reflecting off of the property and being in a downward, shall be shielded. So in some ways, like, only going to be after business hours, likely. So by removing the non-business hours sentence, then it keeps the, the dark sky elements to it.
So if you're going to have, if you have sculptures in the garden and you want to see them dusk and past dusk, it's going to be an upward illuminated from the ground looking up, right? Mm-hmm. So that would, it shielded, maybe reflected downward. And maybe it's not reflected downward, it might be reflected in position. Take the downward out. Reflected in position in a manner that does not allow light glare to extend beyond the property boundaries. That might work.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you took reflected downward out, that phrase, and then put the lighting shall be off, which seems silly. I agree with that. That might be enough.
So outdoor lighting shall be shielded. Illumination shall be positioned in a manner that does not allow light glare to extend beyond the property boundaries, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get that, Juliana?
Yes, I did. Let me see here. This is what I have. Outdoor lighting shall be shielded. Illumination shall be reflected. Shall be positioned in a manner that does not allow glare to extend beyond their property boundaries. And I was wondering if you wanted to say reflected on the sculpture or limited to illuminating the sculpture. Lighting shall illuminate the sculpture.
Shall only.
Yeah, I liked the limiting, either limited to illuminating the sculpture, because you're right about the sign, sign lighting. That, yeah.
And then I wasn't sure if you wanted to add a sentence. The sculpture shall not be internal, or no internal illumination or neon sign.
Well, there we've kind of crossed over the line that.
Yeah, I think we want to avoid.
And that says now we're criticizing the art.
Okay.
Right. I want to steer away from commenting on the artwork.
Okay. So are we good with number 7?
Yep.
Okay.
So Ian, I just wanted to touch briefly on your comment about, I think we're in agreement that we do not want to become, art,
Art Nazis?
yes, like
Whatever.
we don't want that responsibility.
No, no.
But I do think that our guidelines already put us in the position of seeing which, homes are in keeping, what buildings and structures and signs are in keeping with the, historical character of the neighborhood. So that's what I think would give us a little leeway to, to add a sentence about, I forget how Alan put it, like
I'm not sure how I put it either anymore.
yeah, I just like the idea that if I don't know, I'm just trying to cover both ends.
Okay, so Holly, let me bring up a couple things that visually pop in my brain. Mendocino Art Center has a sculpture garden, and those are public view. And do we want to start talking about what they should or should not have, and whether it's in harmony or not in harmony? And then I'll throw one more thing out there. Blair House. If you take a look at their property on the left-hand side, there's a sculpture of a woman who's waving to everyone, right? So, I mean, like I said, I don't know what art's in harmony and what isn't. And I know that art revived Mendocino as a destination point, both for artists and for tourists. And I have no idea how we could legally or rationally cap what art is and what art should be. And I for one, I mean, I understand the sentiment. You don't want things all over the place.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I'd be fine to not put a condition about that.
Alan, how do you feel?
Yeah, see, I slightly have the opposite worry that one day we're going to get 3 million letters from everybody that says, why in the hell do you guys not stop somebody putting this obscenity on the corner of the street? So, I mean, I think you're in trouble either way, potentially. Yeah. Which, by the way, they might do if somebody put something bad in the Blair House or in the Mendocino Arts Guild. So, but your point is well taken. We're already sort of in that boat anyway, so being in it a bit more probably doesn't matter. And I take your point about, being art Nazis, and I don't want to be that either. I just, so yeah, no, I guess I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of a couple of things. I mean, I saw a comment the other day on the list about, there was something done outside of Harvest in the car park where somebody said, well, why didn't the historical review board get to look at this? And I'm thinking, nobody asked us, so so yeah, no, you're right. I mean, there are already instances of this, and in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess.
I like that. In for a penny, in for a pound. I haven't heard that before.
Well, that's another English saying, like a sticky wicket. You have to remember I'm English, right? I've forgotten sayings are American with English.
I get the sticky wicket, and I'm the Jewish guy who brought up the art Nazis. So it's just a little bit of, it's called culture. It's called culture. Yeah. Okay, so
I think I would be happy with the suggested conditions change, and that we not add anything about the character of the town. And if sometime down the road, there's a fluorescent penis sculpture, then maybe someone will want to discuss it again. We'll see.
We can always put it on the agenda. So with that, I know that our applicants are still here, our artists. Was there anything else you wanted to add to this or comment on?
I think you guys have done a marvelous job in sorting through this. It really is a subjective thing, but boy, I don't know anything you need to add. Paul, you're doing it. You need to add anything? No, it sounds fine to us. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the art of public discussion and forum. And I always like to say when applicants or someone else comes up to me and they say, so this is coming on the agenda, what do you think about it? And my honest pat response is, I've read it, I've seen it, and now we get to discuss it. And I will not form an opinion until I work with my other board members and the public, and we get to flesh things out, because this is American sausage. It's great. I love the process. This is one of those things where I thought, oh, this is a slam dunk. This will be 10 minutes. But I appreciate staff and board members in terms of fleshing through this. So with that, I'll shut up. And if there is board.
So I'll propose a motion to accept whatever it is, 2021-0011, with the addition that the clarification that we said 9 foot tall, and on condition 10, and that condition 7 be rewritten as Planner Cherry showed us.
I would be happy to read that back into the record if you'd like at this time.
If that would make your life easier, go for it.
Condition 7 would read, outdoor lighting shall be shielded, illumination shall be positioned in a manner that does not allow light glare to extend beyond the property boundaries, and lighting shall be limited to illuminating the sculpture. And condition 10 would read, art pieces may change but are limited to 4 by 4 feet wide and 9 feet tall. Materials used shall be appropriate for display in any season.
And as Commissioner Saunders would say, brilliant.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Great.
So
Planner Chair, can you do roll call?
yes, please. Chair Roth,
Aye.
Board Member Madrigal,
Aye.
and Board Member Saunders.
Aye.
All right, so that is a vote 3-0 to approve the project at 45050 Little Lake Street in Mendocino.
Thank you so much. And thank you for doing your artwork. Can't wait to see what sculptures are going to go up and how many letters we might get, but go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to agenda item number 10A, reports from review board members. Do either of the two of you board members have any comment?
I don't. I just wanted to mention, it looks like planning staff has their hand raised. I don't know
Oh.
if that might have just been a,
No, that was for something else, so
Okay.
just ignore it.
Do we lose you on something?
No. No,
Okay.
Mark wanted an additional item in there, but it's already been addressed.
Okay. Okay, this brings us to 11A, members from staff, which looks like case 2021-002 Kennebunkport. Planner Waldman, are you there? There she is. Please.
Hi, board members. Thank you for your service to the village of Mendocino. Jessie Waldman, planner here. I am going to go over a memorandum that I hope all of you received. This is regarding a previously approved Mendocino Historical Review Board permit, specifically MHRB 2021. Sorry, just went blank for a minute. 2021-0002. And the board members, you approved the presented project back in May, and the owners have submitted a building permit, and there's a memo that has been posted online. Hopefully all of you have seen it, where it was determined by the building division that alterations would have been required to an adjacent structure if the owners proposed the structure at the MHRB approved location. And the owners have opted to relocate the proposed single-family residence at a different location with no changes to the exterior of the structure to avoid having to do building modifications to the proposed structure and an existing water tower on the same parcel. And thus, staff is here to present to you a new site plan. I have the approved site plan that you have seen back in May, and I can share screen. The project, just to be clear, is located at 45020 Ukiah Street, or also it's on Capella Street, depending on which side you come at. There is no change to the exterior design of the structure. It's just a relocation of a structure. So in my memorandum, the approved location was 18 feet away from the west property line. And in the new location, it will be 6 feet, which is consistent with the zoning of this subject parcel. But we do need to have approval from the Mendocino Historical Review Board for different locations on the parcel. So with your permission,
Yes,
can,
please.
okay, great, I will do that.
Please proceed. Thank you.
Here we go. So, can you all see me scrolling through pages?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So this is the Historical Review Board 2021-0002 permit that was issued. This was approved by the board on the 3rd of May. All of these conditions will still stand. The request, this is the approved site plan, and I apologize for its very, very small detail. I'm going to zoom in to the upper portion of the site plan. I could even rotate it, but if you were able to see, the yellow highlighted area is the approved location where it is 18 feet away from the western property line. That was what was approved. It was 20 feet from the northern property line. I'm going to zoom out again just to go to the requested new location, which happens to be page A2 of the attachment A memorandum that I hope you all received. And I'm going to zoom in again. I could rotate, but I'm not going to unless asked. And you
That's
can
fine.
see here the highlighted area of the proposed floor plan. Now it's 6 feet from the western property line. It still remains to be 20 feet from the northern property line. The parking and the fencing has not changed, so you will note that there is a bigger side yard to the east of the proposed location to the approved fence location. And I will zoom in right here where you will see the number 17 in red and the tower base. I believe that the building department has restrictions of how close structures should be, and it's for these two structures. And let's see. To conclude this presentation, staff would like to ask the board to review the requested location from 18 feet to 6 feet from the western property line with no exterior changes to the structure, only a new location. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer. And you can tell me when to stop sharing screen.
That's fine. Thank you, Planner Waldman. Appreciate the presentation. I think you can probably stop sharing the screen at this point. So do we have the applicant, Robert Schmidt, present online?
I believe that they are. I think it's Miss Mackenzie Sky and Robert Schmidt are the 2 equals 1 there. So our admin staff will
Awesome.
invite them.
They're in.
So whenever you're ready, go ahead. If you have anything to add to Planner Waldman's presentation, that'd be great to hear from you.
Star six,
Mackenzie's there.
star six to unmute yourself.
Reception issues. I heard a garble.
We need a drum roll here.
The sky, you hear us?
So I'll tell you what, in keeping with technical difficulties that we have every so often, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Planner Cherry to put on a 3-minute timer. We can have public expression email in to PBS commissions@mendocinocounty.org. And this we can do a split time so we can try to get the owners on the line. And if you have any public comments you want about this that you want to send in, please do so and go ahead and start the timer.
Can I make good my excuse? My
And when the timer is done, make sure anyone who's on the line, you can mute yourself in the 3 minutes. And we'll wait for public expression. And when we get back, hopefully we'll have the owners around for making the presentation. Thank you.
While we're waiting for the last minute, I'd just like to read that the review board welcomes participation in the meetings. If you requested to speak on this matter, you can call in now. To encourage public participation, the review board is setting aside 3 minutes, of which half a minute is remaining. You can send your comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. When you're called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to the meeting chair and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with members of the audience or staff. The clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Do we have any, actually, I'm not even going to ask about that right now.
It looks
We're
like
going to flip it.
Planner Waldman is still working with the applicant to establish a better audio connection.
Okay. And we got the thumbs up. Got it. Did we get any incoming emails for public expression?
I did not receive any emails or requests.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. Commissioner Madrigal, Holly, go for it.
I'm happy to hear from the applicants, but I also am generally in support of this change without requiring, a resubmittal of the permit. Like I think our approval should stand for the difference in setback.
And Commissioner Saunders.
I'm with Holly. We'd like to hear from the proposers, obviously, but if we're having trouble, then I think we just go forward. I'm in approval.
Okay. And I'm of the same thought. The design's the same. It's just a relocation. I don't really feel like I need to hear from the applicant. So that being said, I guess there's no more questions from board members. And if that is the case, I will entertain a motion on application 2021-0002.
Planner Waldman has a comment.
Yes. Please.
Hi, Planner Waldman. Got too many voices in my head.
So do
I
I.
have the agent, or excuse me, the landowners on the line. They have logged back in and they do have comment. Did I miss the opportunity for them to be re-invited back in to have comment?
No. Please, by all means.
And then I guess we would want to double check with Jim that Mackenzie Sky is able to have comment.
I brought her in, but is she on a phone?
So they are in the Zoom and they can hear you guys and they just hung up on me.
If
So,
they're on
I'll
the
tell you
phone, they
what.
have to *6.
Okay, so let's do this. I don't think that they're going to turn down a yes. I think that's where we're headed. If they want to submit comment for the record, please inform them they can do so, and we'll read into the record after the fact. And it sounds like we got 3 ayes coming up. So without further ado, if one of the 2 of you want to make a motion on this application.
I think it's Holly's turn.
Yeah. So I will.
Where's home when you need them?
Yes.
I will move that the review board accept the project revision as clarifications to the MHRB permit 2021-0002.
I'll second.
Great. Planner Cherry, you have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Board Member Roth, what is your vote?
Aye.
Board Member Saunders
Aye.
and Board Member Madrigal.
Aye.
So we have a unanimous vote to approve the request to change the location of the structure 6 feet from the west property boundary. And that is consistent with the previously issued MHRB permit. I just want to
Great.
check with Planner Waldman if there are any last minute comments from the applicant that you'd like to share with the review board.
Thank you for your patience in this technical difficulty, and the Schmitz say thank you.
Awesome. And if they want to submit something via email, please encourage them to do so, and Planner Chair will put it into the record. Great. Good luck. Can't wait to see a new old home here, as long as the water table can support it. Not our problem, right? Different jurisdiction. Okay, so that brings us to agenda item number 11B, matters from staff. And I believe Planner Cherry wants to, as requested, talk about what our Board of Soups did about the temporary installation and use of water tanks during the 2021 drought emergency in Mendocino. And I'm just wondering if it's, if we limit to 2021 drought, is that going to be on Mother Nature to make sure it's only for this year? Please go ahead.
Hello, Planner Cherry with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. At the previous MHRB meeting in July, the review board asked about urgency ordinance regarding use of water tanks. We have, I think the day after the review board meeting, the Board of Supervisors adopted an urgency ordinance, and that copy of the ordinance has been included in the information distributed to the review board and posted on the meeting website. So in the town of Mendocino and throughout the county, there is an urgency ordinance in place allowing for water storage tanks. It is temporary, and there are several parameters under which the water storage tanks can temporarily be installed, and that is described in the ordinance. I'd also like to, rather than summarize the ordinance, I'd like to say that we also spoke with staff at Mendocino City Community Services District, which is regulates groundwater extraction. And they said to staff that they have applied to both the state and the county for funds to pay for water storage tanks. They're also distributing a survey throughout the water district about the need for additional water storage tanks. So residents living in the town of Mendocino or in MCCS service district boundaries can certainly contact MCCSD about water storage tanks. Also, within the town of Mendocino, if you live within the historic district, either Zone A or Zone B, there is an exemption for water storage tanks. You do not need an MHRB permit if you meet the criteria for locating the water storage tank on your property. So you can immediately put in a temporary water storage tank anywhere in the county, and in the town of Mendocino, there is an exemption for permanent water storage tanks as long as you meet that criteria. If people have questions, they can certainly stop by the Planning and Building Services office, either in Fort Bragg or in Ukiah, and planning staff would be very helpful in sorting through issues about locating water storage tanks.
Great, thank you, Planner Cherry. Quick clarification. The ordinance talks about, if you look on page, the last law, section 9, effective date, term of ordinance. This ordinance shall take effect immediately as an emergency ordinance and will remain in effect until expiration or termination of the county's declared local emergency, or until this ordinance is modified or revoked by the Board of Supervisors, whichever is sooner. So I'm assuming that that is like ongoing until Mother Nature's turned her course and climate change is stopped, right? I guess what I'm saying is that there's no date certain. It's just, it's ongoing until they change their mind.
It says until expiration, but there's nowhere it explains what the expiration date is. That's the
Exactly.
So I believe there will come a time where the Board of Supervisors will not renew a state of emergency, at which case it would expire when that emergency is not renewed.
Right.
But
Okay.
it says in effect until the expiration, and then or termination, whichever is sooner. But then it nowhere defines what the expiration date is that I can see.
It says the termination. It says termination of the county's declared local emergency. The county has declared a local emergency, so this remains in effect until it expires. And I believe urgency ordinances actually are good for 12 months.
Ah, okay, that's what I didn't understand.
I'm just looking for that in here. Typically, state law allows a community to take a matter urgently, an urgent matter before them, but that urgency ordinance typically only has a 12-month effect. This one also could be extended if the local emergency regarding drought is ongoing in Mendocino County.
No, that's very clear there. It's just that it wasn't clear to me, which you've now clarified, that what the actual expiration date was. And so this will run for a year unless extended. Is what I think you said.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on Alan's comment, if we're still in a state of emergency, the county is still in a state of emergency 12 months from now, the Board of Soups will likely re-up this declaration. Is that correct?
Right, so this is an action taken by the Board of Supervisors, and I am not staff on this item. Really, these kinds of questions, I can come back to you with more clarity if you'd like.
No, I think we got the gist of it. And I think the biggest question is, if someone gets a tank and puts it on their property and plumbs it, they don't need a permit for it currently. And this is within our purview. And then at some point, when the emergency declaration runs out, then they will have to go through PBS, Planning and Building Services, to ensure that it is properly placed and located and plumbed, ... Basically, they have to have a permit. Is that correct?
It is exempt from discretionary reviews, such as a coastal permit or an MHRB permit. It needs to be associated with an allowed use on the property. So for example, if you have a vacant lot that does not have a residence on it or some sort of allowed use on it, there's no need to have a temporary water storage tank serving nothing. So it doesn't apply to vacant lots or illegal uses on existing lots of record. You do need to comply with other state and local laws, including encroachment, building, grading, fire, and health code requirements. So if a building permit is required, yes, you do need to obtain it.
And then real quickly, what would be when the emergency declaration is over, what's a time frame that one might be held to get it formally permitted by the local jurisdiction?
So the use of the temporary water tanks must immediately cease at the end of this urgency ordinance. People need to be prepared to either remove the tanks or seek building permits or other discretionary permits that are needed to have a permanent tank. And the standards might be different for a permanent tank. There may be building setbacks that they need to meet. They may have screening requirements that they need to meet. So this is really for a temporary use and not a permanent use.
So this is section G, paragraph 2, right? Restoration or retention of temporary water tank within 30 days after the end of the effective period of this ordinance. Temporary water tanks must either be removed and the site restored, or the resident or business must apply for and diligently pursue retention. So in other words, they have 30 days to apply for a permit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And just, Alan, for clarification, and those who are watching this on YouTube or live, this is a relationship between the tank purchaser and the county board of supervisors in the county, and really doesn't have a whole lot to do with us.
No.
And the reason we asked was how do we fit into this process? And I think the answer is we have the duty to make sure that it's fenced or shielded and not in view, but the whole permitting process about zoning and health and everything else goes directly with the county and not us. Is that correct, Planner Cherry?
All residents in the county, including those in the town of Mendocino, can certainly put in a temporary water tank if they follow the urgency ordinance. The review board has purview over exterior changes within the historic district, including permanent water storage tanks. And there is a criteria to install water storage tanks within the district. You can apply for an MHRB permit, or you can meet the criteria for an exemption from an MHRB permit. Planning staff, if people have questions about their private property, can certainly come into the office or call the office, and planners would be happy to help people with their water tank questions.
Thank you. So as this is an agendized item, we had our staff's presentation. Do we have any requests for public expression at this time?
I don't believe we do, but
I didn't get any emails or anything regarding any comments.
And it's the prerogative of the chair to put it on that 3-minute hold.
Mhm.
I think the chair is going to pass on that, because if we had something, we might have probably already should have gotten it.
It's fine with me.
So I'm going to do my executive authority. I'm going to waive that. Do commission members have any, board members have any other thoughts, questions?
No, I appreciate your clarification, Ian. I think that was good.
Thank you.
This is informational, correct? We're not needing to, yeah, I think this is good information to have out there. I have to say, as a resident of Mendocino Village, my question is not in the temporary tank placement, but how one would get a temporary tank behind one's house. I think it would involve a crane, but I will be looking into that individually.
There's a lot to weigh in, and I'll say, just for edification, and I've been here 3 years now. Water delivery has become much more challenging this season due to any number of issues that are most likely going to go from temporary to permanent at some point. I've got a 2,500 gallon tank. I know the trucks run at 3,500 gallons per tank. So my personal interest would be to add a 1,000 gallon tank to my property, because when you pay for water, 90% of the cost is delivery and 10% is the water. So if you can do a full tank, that's great. Who knows where we're going to go from here, but I think it's a great public service to be able to put this out there and ask questions. I really appreciate staff coming back from a quick last month, what's going on, to the report you gave to us. So thank you so much for supporting that, and us and the public. And that brings us to our last, there's no other issues. We have one more memorandum from staff that has to do with the installation use of tents to allow for outdoor dining during COVID emergency in Mendocino. Planner Chair, would you like to take that one?
Certainly. Planner Cherry with Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. At the last meeting, one of the review board members asked about when the canopies that are mostly at restaurants in town going to come down. These canopies are provided under our public health order. And there is, again, an ordinance that the Board of Supervisors adopted last summer, a year ago, Ordinance 4472, which we have distributed to the review board because of the request last month. What's interesting is this urgency ordinance really is not just specifically about tents, but about accommodating outdoor activities during a public health order. So it extends to other things besides tents. There's indoor modifications and outdoor modifications under this ordinance. I believe that the Board of Supervisors is going to allow this ordinance to stay in effect until they decide otherwise. So I don't see the tents being required to be removed at this time under this ordinance. During the month, we did get a follow-up question about also porta potties, which I really haven't noticed. And staff is still investigating what the status is on porta potties that have popped up during this public health order. I don't have any specifics on porta potties. So in conclusion, this ordinance that allows tents and outdoor dining will remain in effect until 30 days after its expiration or termination of social distancing requirements, or until the ordinance is modified or revoked by the Board of Supervisors. And staff anticipates the ordinance will remain in place until the Board of Supervisors revokes it.
Yeah, because
Thank you,
if I
Planner.
read, if I read the California stuff right, masks aside, the social distancing disappeared on July 30th. So presumably they have to pedal to extend this, because it says whichever is sooner again. And if, as I understand it, the social distancing disappeared on July 30th, then in theory, at the end of August, any tent that doesn't have a permit has to come down unless they extend the ordinance. Is that correct, or am I misunderstanding?
It's staff's understanding that it'll remain in effect. This ordinance adopted by the Board of Supervisors will remain in effect until the Board of Supervisors revokes it. That is their option, and that is how we're reading the tea leaves.
It's just that whichever is sooner always gets me at the end of the paragraph.
So Planner Chair, one question and one clarification. Does this still have the 12-month limitation on it?
It is an urgency ordinance, so I would imagine that it's adopted under the state guidelines for urgency ordinances. I can look into that and get back to you if you'd like.
And that would be, it was adopted, let me go back to the end of it. It looks like it was I'm looking for a date, 20th of October, 2020. So I think, Alan, to your issue, it's either, and I hadn't heard that the physical distancing had been removed, but I like the earlier of, that it looks like they got to renew this at least on the 20th day of October before 2021. And then with regard to porta potties, there are porta potties at the end of the driveway at Frankie's, which is right behind my property. There are porta potties next to Patterson's on the west side, south side. I always get my directions mixed up. Away from Mendoza's, and there's also a couple porta potties I know of that are in Mendoza's parking lot. So I don't know if those need any permitting. I know there's a lot of chatter going on MCN about people voicing their opinions about where they should be located, on the sidewalk, on the street, all that stuff. And I guess one of the questions that's probably eating it, at least the three of us, is even though they're impermanent structures as tents are, I don't recall there being porta potties in the 1850s. And so is a placement of a quasi-temporary structure under our purview for MHRB? And that I don't need an answer right now, but I think Commissioner Madrigal has her hand up.
So two things in regards to the porta potties. I do believe that is in response to both emergencies. My understanding is that Harvest at Mendoza's no longer allows people to use their restroom, and that's because of the water shortage, not because
and that's
of the pandemic.
And Holly, that's Mendoza's and the majority of restaurants in downtown. They close off their restaurants.
So I just want to clarify that that is as a result of both emergencies, both the COVID emergency and the water, the drought emergency that we're facing. I do want to let the public know that I have, as an MHRB member, received public comment about the tent specifically and when we're going to be asking to, have them removed or taken down. I have noticed some businesses already taking the initiative on their own as they've been allowed to use more internal spaces, voluntarily removing tents. But I also hesitate, given the information that we're finding out about the Delta virus and, the desire to continue to allow businesses to operate with social distancing and with masks and outdoor is just safer. So at this point, it seems like we're kind of going along with that state of emergency designation by the county for the COVID emergency, not the other one. And so it seems like we do, I would hesitate to limit that, given the fact that the restaurants and businesses are still having to comply, for the safety of their employees to do that. But rest assured, it's not far from any of our thoughts. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only board who receives comments about the tent's existence, but it seems that, yeah, we sort of want to take the lead or we want to follow the lead of the Board of Supervisors as far as their restrictions, or the health department on the restrictions on abilities to be inside.
Yeah, my comment was aimed more at encouraging the Board of Supervisors to extend this, because if I read it as it says today, and people come up and say, well, why haven't you said, you have to take the tents down? I don't want to do that either, but this ordinance really does, if I read the news and the California statements properly, in theory, we should be objecting after August the 30th, and I don't want to do that either. I'm just pointing out that maybe we need to encourage the Board of Supervisors to extend this. I'm not sure they realize what they've done, if you see what I mean.
That'd be a good email to county council.
Yep.
That sounds good. I'm being in and amongst the businesses with mine. I know that help is short. I know that there are establishments that aren't opening because of staff shortages, and those who are using the tents for outdoor spaces. I know that the right side of Patterson's has removed that tent, but they have still the left side. There's the majority of the tents are still out. I think it's a great, talk about silver lining of COVID. Businesses understanding better use of their space for doing business. I think it's wonderful. And yeah, we really don't want to remove the tents at this point, because we're heading in and through summer, going into fall. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the summer's been an awfully wonderful wet summer, which I think is great because of the lack of rainfall. But we're gonna be heading back into the fall and winter months, and as things keep shifting and changing, hopefully the staff issue is going to let up a bit. I know a lot of restaurants can't stay open as much as they want to, just as they don't have that staff, and I'd love to see them be able to provide for the residents and the tourists who come, and I'm all in support of that. So yeah, Al and I appreciate that. It would be great to see if the County Board of Soups don't shoot themselves in the foot for some language that was miscrafted. I think Planner Chair has something to say.
I had another matter from staff. When you're done with your discussion on this and direction to staff.
I think we beat it up sufficiently. Go ahead.
So I've emailed each of you about a potential site view for the first Friday in September. I think that's September 3rd. And I wanted to let you know that the applicant has gotten back to me, and they are going to be able to have material samples for their windows. They're similar to other projects the review board has looked at recently. This new residence across from the post office is proposing aluminum clad windows. They will have a sample available at the site view on the 3rd. This is not going to be a publicly noticed site view. It is going to be limited to 10 minutes with one of the review board members, and we'll just see each review board member for 10 minutes over the course of 1 hour. So
what's the time on that?
I'm thinking it's 1 o'clock, but I will confirm the time in the next week. I did send emails out. I think I heard from Saunders, who is most likely not available on the 3rd. I heard from Ian that on the appointment time that he wanted, and I think I heard from Holm the appointment time that he wanted. And I apologize, Madrigal, I did send you an email. I didn't text you about this matter.
I don't always check my emails fast enough, so I will put it. I'm fine with whatever time on the 3rd. Just
right, yeah. I think And we can, it's just the 3 of the 4 review board members, so we can be a little flexible on that time. I just kind of wanted to find a 1-hour slot that was good for the review board members. And I appreciate that. And I just wanted to give you the good news that a sample of the aluminum clad window will be available at the site view.
So keep me in the loop, because my movements are still up in the air a little bit. So just I'm not sure where I'll be when at this point.
Happy to do that. And if it ends up being rescheduled, we can do that as well. So that this new home across from the post office is, the applicants are the roads. So you can look for that in the September 13th MHRB agenda. And then we'll have those 3 sign permits. Also, we're working on 3 sign permits for the September MHRB agenda. So we're not going to put signs on the consent calendar because we want to talk with the review board about some modifications to the standard language for sign permits, so we can accommodate through the conditions much of the input that and direction that we've gotten from the review board. Staff is also hopeful that before the September 13th meeting, we can meet with some of our local stakeholders or sign manufacturers and go over these changes in the language that we're considering to make sure that the stakeholders are also endorsing of the new language.
Thank you.
Sure. That concludes all of staff's presentations to the board.
And I think that concludes our agenda for this meeting of August 2nd. So I am going to call this meeting of the MHRB adjourned at 4:11 p.m. on August the 2nd. We'll see you in September on the 13th. Thank you so much.
Good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, James, for everything.